Good morning, everyone. Would it help if speaker selected? Can everyone hear me okay? Got quite a party this morning. Hey, Mitch, got a little surprise for you. I just wanted to let you know I'm live streaming this. There he is. Hey, Mitch. I'm sorry. Yep. Yeah. Hey, Mitch, just an FYI, I am live streaming this. All right, cool. Live on YouTube. Oh, good. How old are they? Both five? God. I did. Thank you. Having IT issues over there today, Mitch? Oh, was I supposed to do a deck?
talking about API security.
Oh, yeah, totally. I am your resident API hacker. I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah, because that deck I sent you talked about. So we're going to talk about some interesting things that we found when we took apart the 21st Century Cures Act, not the CARES Act, which was which is the one that got passed a few weeks ago. But I can make you a host in a second.
Yeah, so I don't have anything to share, but I can sure as hell talk about hacking APIs or API security.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. So I'm going to make you a host right now. Go.
Fantastic. I don't know what that did, but cool. Yeah, so I don't know if any of you guys know me, but I am Alissa Knight. I am the host of Night TV and Mitch's guest today on his show. Thank you for inviting me, Mitch.
Thank you for coming.
I guess a little bit about myself. I guess became known for hacking APIs back in 2019. Last year, I actually downloaded 30 financial services mobile apps and decompiled them and found a bunch of hard-coded API tokens and API keys in those apps. And it was funny. What was interesting is I traveled around, Asia and Europe and just different parts of the world talking about these findings. And there was a huge report of vulnerabilities on these financial mobile apps. And I'm not talking about like small community banks, right? I'm talking about multinational corporations, very large banks with billions of dollars under management. And it was interesting because there were these other vulnerabilities like SQL injection and all these other issues. And the narrative about the API vulnerabilities actually ended up becoming about the API keys and the tokens that were being hard-coded in these apps. I found Amazon credentials hard-coded. It was pretty interesting. In any case, fast forward to this year, I've begun hacking bank API servers. So last year was a focus on their mobile apps. This year, I'm focusing on their API endpoints at the banks. So pretty interesting research just a couple weeks ago, or actually last week. I don't know if anyone saw this, but on my YouTube channel, on my LinkedIn page, I posted a video of me hacking a bank through their API server. And the interesting thing about it is you can see me using Postman, which is an API client, and taking these ATM debit card numbers for other bank customers. And this is a large European bank. And changing the PIN code of these ATM debit cards. And so these were cards that, of course, did not belong to my user account. They were cards that belonged to other bank IDs. So it was just a really interesting video. Of course, quite controversial, but one thing I can say is it was a sanctioned pen test. So one of the comments was, I was getting trolled for the fact that, hey, look, did the bank. So this was sanctioned. It was an actual authorized pen test. And the European bank does know that I created that video. But in any case, yeah. So that's my focus this year is hacking API servers and talking about. I'm actually about to publish a white paper on hacking APIs and securing APIs. So this is my soup of the day, if you will, Mitch.
So that is awesome. So I'll tell you, there's been a lot going on in the healthcare community as well about APIs. So 21st Century Cures Act final rule came out a few weeks ago, and one of the items that we found in there is it actually mandates the use of an API for transactions.
Yeah.
It's called Fast Health Interoperability Resources version 4.0.1. So I'm going to bring up something right now, and I'm going to go share my PowerPoint. So I have that right here.
You've got a PowerPoint.
So,
I feel like 10 years late for the prom. I can't believe I didn't come with a PowerPoint. I'm so sorry, Mitch.
Don't worry about it, Ed. This is what we got. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to do live captions or subtitles. Last time I did that, it was for grad school.
Hey, Mitch, I think we're seeing presenter view.
so I can.
Which is fine,
I,
but I don't know about the other people.
okay, can you see it all
There we
nice
go.
now?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I've got my dual screen set up here. So, big thing that we got for our talking points, and this is originally something I presented to a room full of lawyers at IU Health, was Nick, were you Nick Button, Nick Sturgeon from my team's on the phone. Nick, were you there in that meeting when I presented all lawyers?
If I can unmute myself here,
Hey.
I can never remember if I was or not. Honestly,
Yeah,
I've slept a few times since then.
yeah, yeah, 7 attorneys, and half of them were not from our organization.
Met your spelers på Zoom. Just Zoom out.
What'd you say?
Yeah, your spelers go Zoom in. Just try to Zoom out.
Okay, I'm gonna try and get that squared away. You're on the 4K screen, that's why. So let me.
Yeah, it's cut off on the left-hand side, Mitch.
Yeah, so let me just swap displays here. Okay, swap presenter slideshow. Now I can get back over to Zoom and just share. I'm just going to share this screen. Better now?
Much better.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so you're on the 1080p screen. So yeah, so gave this to a bunch of lawyers, and the ONC Cures Act final rule and patient access final rules have been released and approved. So President Trump was supposed to speak at HIMSS on the 9th. We think this is what he was going to talk about. However, the fact that they canceled the conference and went virtual totally disrupted that. So when I originally sent out the email, I sent out the talking points as well. One of the things that I did is I do a lot of collaboration with the American Hospital Association. Their senior director of cybersecurity and risk is a man named John Ritchie. John spent 27 years in the Bureau, special agent. He did a lot of work towards the end of his career in outreach to get organizations to collaborate with the Bureau. So he's done a lot of work. And Ruth, who is also on the call today, we also spoke about this as well as part of the research for his presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ruth.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we found some issues. So first of all, let's get to what's in the Act. So 21st Century Cures Act final rule, it does patient data sharing via Advanced Health Interoperability Resources version 4.0.1 to well-defined standards. Patient Access API has to be implemented by January 1st, although I think we get it out by June 1st, 2021. They're going to be lucky. And the ADT event notifications, which is admission, discharge, or transfer events, have to have notification to providers within 6 months of the publication of the rule. Again, I don't think that's happening right now. And it has to also mandate interoperability between all the different vendors that follow the standards. They have updated certification criteria for the apps. And also, they're talking a lot about giving the ability for independent developers to use these APIs to have people download all their own data. Big challenge we found, and that we've been talking with the AHA about, is that the apps do not have to be secured to a known standard. There is no standard for it. So here's our concerns that we found. So the certification criteria itself does not require encryption of credentials. Keep in mind, this is the HIPAA security rule. This isn't HIPAA. HIPAA, if it was provider to provider, would be a lot different. But this is patient to provider, so that means that nice little third-party app you download off the App Store does not require credentials to be encrypted. And also does not require two-factor authentication. Meanwhile, the healthcare providers are getting literally hit left and right by the Office of Civil Rights to have two-factor authentication and encrypted credentials. And also, we picked up this little gem from the Federal Register from the original high-tech final rule for certification criteria for EMRs. They do not have a security requirement for security scanning or API scanning. So in other words, the link that I bring up here specifically talks about They expect people to use industry best practices and do not want to mandate any kind of system or API security or security scanning. We confirmed this with John Ritchie over at the AHA and we sent him our concerns. So another thing we also found is something called information blocking for security exceptions. This allows organizations to not share information with the intent of protecting protected health information. So what this means is it's not information blocking if you can prove that it protects the security of protected health information, provided certain conditions are met. What we found for the conditions were you have to make sure that the measure you're taking protects the secure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of it. It's tailored to specific risks and implemented in a consistent, non-discriminatory manner, which means that it must either implement a qualifying organizational security policy or implement a qualifying security determination. Okay, Mitch, you just said a bunch of words that you said to 7 different attorneys. What does it really mean? So all you really have to do to get past the government and not share information is have a security policy that says you securely share data that you can download off the internet and get a risk assessment done saying that this introduces additional risk and doesn't protect PHI. Which means that in those 2 sentences, I just basically told you how not to share information and how to get away with it legally. And it's not hard to do, and it's going to be abused. So, what do we really think is going to happen with the Juries Act final? EMR providers are going to implement these changes and put in good security. We think the big 3, Epic, Cerner, and Athena Health, are going to do a good job of it. And Epic, who openly opposed these changes, actually is a really, really good security team. I've actually seen their people at DEF CON. And they do a good job of implementing security. And the med device vendors, a lot of them are leaning towards what's called UL 2900-1, which is the secure development for medical devices and other upcoming UL and IEEE standards. Because again, now that the standards are actually there from UL and IEEE, we anticipate a lot of med device vendors are going to use them. What's been happening, I'm going to do a little bit of an aside here, med device security, is that there is no consistent standard for them to follow. Philips Healthcare under Michael Neal actually co-developed UL 2900-1 and 2933, which was originally IEEE P2733, I'm co-vice chair of that group, has been extending that to not just secure development, but secure architecture. So now that there actually is going to be a true international standard for it, it's going to be something that we can put down on paper. Because right now, unfortunately, everything is subjective when it comes to risk for medical devices. So we're trying to change that. This is how. Smaller providers, on the other hand, they're at the mercy of their electronic medical records unless they partner with a larger organization. The example I gave is Bon Secours Mercy. They're based out of St. Louis, but they have a huge presence in Cincinnati, one of our local health systems here in Indiana, which is Riverview, small hospital, bunch of urgent cares. They use Epic for Mercy. And the other one that provides both Epic and Cerner is the University of Pittsburgh, UPMC. They also provide those services per user, and they charge a pretty decent amount to do so. So unless you've got one of the big EMR systems, you're going to have some issues. However, the big thing we think is going to happen is you're going to see an explosion, much like you had in 2008 when Apple introduced the App Store. Everyone's going to be writing apps and applications to assist patients in getting access to their data. Apple's going to do a great job. Apple's done a great job with organizations with Apple Health. And a lot of customers not even help use Apple Health, and a lot they're not. Again, there's going to be the healthcare equivalent of about 10,000 fart apps like there was back in the iPhone in 2008, and we expect most of the security to suck. We expect Google to dip their toe in and then realize they can't make money off especially with updates to Fire. And one of the challenges in finance and fintech is API security. And yes, I gave this presentation internally. And yes, giving you major props here, Alissa.
Thanks, Mitch.
Welcome. And we do a lot of research when we present internally because, again, my organization is a type that you don't come there with your citations, you don't come with credible sources, and they don't come from certain places. Our senior leadership team will let you know. Probably the only place I've ever had a chief human resources officer tell me that when you collect survey data, I only want to see survey data from that includes representative sample of these 50 institutions. So Athena Health, their CISO is Taylor Lehman. I knew Taylor back when he was a Price Waterhouse consultant. So he's been using our standards. We publish them on the internet. He uses them. A lot of vendors and providers, however, aren't. And just some privacy issues as well. Can't stop people from selling their own data to whoever will pay. There are a lot of startups that are basically monetizing patient data for supplying intelligence systems researchers. I went to a blockchain conference a couple years ago in Nashville, and literally half the blockchain companies at the startup had something to do about monetizing patient data, utilizing blockchain to keep track of who accessed and provide payments. Google's now gotten into this game. I expect many others to follow. And we can't stop the apps from sending data, and quite frankly, with the fact that there are no good security standards, the government will not make security standards, and Google's stellar record at keeping crappy apps off the Play Store, this is going to happen. The data is going to go places it should. And however, an internal note here for the 7 attorneys around the table was if we're providing the app the data, we're going to consent. And what do we need to do when it involves our organization providing the app or service? Make sure it meets our standards, which we've done. And actually, our version 1.1 of our vendor security standards specifically calls out encrypting credentials and API security checks. It's in legal review right now. And make sure vendors continue to implement security well. So, major challenge I have in security is the fact that people assume they can find the latest and greatest from F5 or buy some API gateway or use some like killer technology to protect all their APIs. The truth is, I got a software engineer degree. I don't want people doing that. I want people fixing their API problems. I don't want to have crappy APIs because ultimately, crappy APIs equal data breach equals loss of trust behind help, which equals me out of a job and a lot of dissatisfied people. And more importantly, my organization viewed as someplace that cannot be trusted patient data. And that's not good. And I consider most of the API gateways snake oil. And another little bit aside, I was on the COVID-19 Threat Coalition Slack. The first thing that got posted on that Slack that I saw was a 0 day for an F5. So if you want to know how much I trust API gateways or trust API security that's layered on top, there's your answer. And the big issue we have is what happens with brand issues when third parties have data breaches. Even though it's out of our control, unfortunately, we are collateral damage. So, again, part of the reason I asked Alissa to be here is because I wanted people to understand what the government did with the 21st Century Cures Act was really bad. Because I've probably given Alissa about a good 6 months of conference talks right here. But more importantly, outside of the big 3 EMR vendors, I don't see many companies working to actually do something about this. So with that, I can open up for any questions here while I get this machine finally back to normal. So, what do y'all think of all that fun stuff we're doing?
So Mitch, it basically, what do you think the crux of the issue is that the government is requiring the use of APIs when we don't really fully understand how to secure them in the first place, and it's like the cart before the cart before the horse? Or
I really think they had a chance as part of the high tech final rule to do something about that, but they chose not to, according to the Federal Register guideline. They chose not to implement the API security they should
yeah. Yeah, so you're saying it's basically lacking it completely, the security guidance over the APIs.
have. Correct.
Okay.
And there's a lot of vendors out there that are very nice that will sell you an API security solution that you'll break in 30 seconds. And if you don't break it, there's people on my team that will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Mitch, just real quick. So, part of the efforts of the Ohio River Valley Cloud Security Alliance, we did an API security talk a couple months ago, and I would tell you to find people who really understand APIs in general, let alone the security around it, is very, very difficult. I think there are, I mentioned, not very many people that truly understand how to secure APIs.
Yeah.
That's my
I
thoughts there.
I agree, Nick, and I think Mitch, you touched on this. Not only just the mistaken use of API gateways to secure APIs that have security as a functionality or a feature instead of being a security solution itself, but organizations trying to secure APIs with WAFs, with web application firewalls. I mean, that's a whole other discussion. They're looking at APIs as they're treating APIs like a web server, and trying to secure them with WAFs like they would a web server, and it's a web app. It's just not the same thing. They're different types of attacks. There's different kinds of authentication authorization issues with APIs that WAFs can't simply see. There's no context around the security, if you will.
I agree with that. And again, I joke around about this because I can tell you one of the people I love, also love following on Twitter, is Coldwater.
Yeah.
And she's got a lot of fans in Kansas City, Missouri, because Cerner Corporation, pretty much when she posts something, there's people at Cerner that take a look at it and go, uh-oh, we've got to do something about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they get it. I've had extended discussions with the company in Wisconsin, shall not be named, and they get it. And obviously, Athena Health will call out because my friend Taylor's a CISO there. They get it, but a lot of other companies I've talked to, literally, they don't get it. They also don't get that blockchain is not a solution, but you have to address API issues. Blockchain is just, to me, more immutable form of transport that immortalizes your mistakes. It doesn't fix the API issues.
Yeah, yeah, and also, I mean, let's point the pink elephant out in the room here, and anyone on the bridge can feel free to disagree with me, but I feel like what's happening is this systemic problem of API breaches and API vulnerabilities is because of a lack of shift left security. Where we're waiting until production to do penetration testing and security testing to find the vulnerabilities and say, oops, wait, hold on, we found a vulnerability and fixing it. When in fact it should have been done at the development, when the API was being developed in the first place, right? So it's I think also there's just a lack of understanding writ large in the community of the difference between API security gateways and API gateways. Like, an organization trying to secure their APIs with the same solution they use to create and manage their APIs, and implements security as a feature, versus something like Assault Security or an actual API security gateway that's actually interdicting the API traffic, analyzing it, and taking action on it. And I think the other issue here is organizations that don't know how many APIs they have. I mean, there's organizations that have thousands of APIs, many of which are internet facing, and the CISO doesn't know about it. Like a developer firing up a new API. You talk about shadow IT. What about shadow APIs? Developers, firing up an internet-facing API and the cybersecurity team not knowing about it. I think the biggest vulnerability is organizations that don't know how many APIs they have and where they are and how they're accessible.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that, Alyssa. I know a few years ago when I was still more operational than security, it was like, oh, we need these two systems to talk together. Let's build an API.
Yeah.
Let's build an API. And I guarantee you, very few of those conversations included, well, how do we secure that API, that connection?
Yeah. I don't know. And I mean, there's the thing is that I really don't feel like there's really many excuses left for, the application developers to say, well, we don't have the tools to help us in developing more secure code, or there's training. I've run into many organizations where they'll do that mandatory cybersecurity awareness training, but they won't pay the extra money to send their developers to secure code training. It's like how you're writing code. How are you not sending your developers to secure code training? Doesn't make sense. Oh, the modules are a lot more expensive than, or whatever. But, and there's also tools that sit in the IDE while the developer is writing the code, that will sit there and analyze the code as it's being written and say, hey, look, you shouldn't be doing this. Or, the Swagger Open API file contract doesn't match, what the backend API server supports. So I think, I think there's breakdowns across the entire life cycle, but it starts with the developer.
Yeah, in my even most recent experiences, a lot of developers look at the security team when they come in to even do SaaS or DAS, and they feel like it's an attack on their code, their baby, that we are telling them as security teams they don't know how to code, and they get really defensive, and that's really not the case. I mean, there's a number of companies out there like that have solutions like that will go in red, green, yellow light on the code, and we're not attacking how you are as a developer. We just want to make sure that what you are doing doesn't introduce new vulnerabilities, or even that code base is secure. In my experience, it takes a lot longer to go back and fix the issues than it is to take that little extra time at the beginning during those sprints or whatever type of methodology these coding teams or developing teams are using to fix them before they get into the libraries or into production.
Yeah.
And it is really a conversation that, hey, we're not attacking you. We're actually trying to make you better in what you do.
Yeah. And I think there's also this sort of, and if there's any developers on the bridge, I'd love to have some, academic discourse or dialogue around this. But, I would love to find out, if a developer can weigh in on the fact that, hey, one of the problems I'm seeing is just sort of a lack of understanding, I think, on the developer side around API development, and the fact that RESTful APIs are stateless, right? So, I've run in, like, with this bank API, they were trying to authenticate PIN code changes on the ATM debit cards and wire transfers based on the cookie, right? So why the hell are we authenticating using cookies on a RESTful API, which doesn't keep state, right? So, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that. I still haven't been able to get a developer to explain that to me. But that was a big failure. Was they said they didn't understand why it wasn't working, why the cookie wasn't working, why I was able to change and perform actions for other bank customers because I just disabled the cookie completely and forwarded my API request without the cookie, and I was able to do it. So I think I don't know. Again, I'm not a developer, so I would love a developer. I'm just a hacker. But it's if someone can explain that to me. But I think there's a big problem here that web application firewalls, for example, can't fix, and that's context around security or authentication authorization issues. I'm not a lot of the vulnerabilities when I'm hacking a bank through their APIs, and I'm sure the same could apply to healthcare. Mitch, sorry, but is the lack of authentication authorization, right? So I may be authenticated with a legitimate bank user ID, but with a legitimate ID, but why am I able to perform these actions for other bank customers or other accounts? So they're legitimate API requests. There's no SQL injection. There's no user input validation issues. It's performing actions that I shouldn't be able to perform as my user ID. So
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, with healthcare unfortunately is a couple years behind when it comes to security, which I've observed. And at least with finance, you have some degree of authentication standards. And even higher ed, you have some degree of it. With healthcare, I mean, I wanted to highlight there is no degree of authentication standards, and I think those very specific two examples I gave from the 21st Century Cures Act prove that. I mean, not even requiring encrypted credentials. This is the 21st century. That's like something I'd expect Mitnick to steal back in '96.
right.
So I think there's a lot in there about just APIs, and what I think it is with healthcare is that it was all based on a standard called Health Level 7 before they moved over to Fire, and Health Level 7 was literally, hey, if the message fits and we send it to the right port, we'll accept it and process it. Literally. I researched my presentation for HIMSS and talked about some of the challenges with healthcare supply chain and they had to screw with their EDI system doing that. And and basically what it came down to is I sat down and interviewed someone from our organization, a guy named Seth Wanless, and talked about HL7 and EDI in healthcare. And he basically said, yeah, you just shoot a raw 4 message out of port, it accepts it and processes it. And I think what we've literally done in healthcare is taken the interface for HL7, slapped the RESTful API on it, and said, hey, we have Fire. At least that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to bring awareness of this to multiple organizations. And again, big EMR companies are listening, but I think there's a lot of other people that aren't. And I think that the issue of, well, not enforcing security as a standard and basically allowing people to do that. And you're right, Steve. Dana Fantulli over at Black Hat a couple of years ago, modifying data in transit. We've been able to do it with DICOM, so we know what's going on out there. So this is our way of trying to say that we know what's going on. The providers are now fully aware, and they're actually trying to do something about it. Thank you very much for coming, Jesse. Well, Jesse from one of our vendors actually stopped by as well, so it's great to see her. But again, Alyssa, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so my $1 million question. So I don't, and you definitely know more about this than I do. When does the rule take effect? Is it already in effect, or is this
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
the government rule that got passed that requires this? Is it in effect, or when does it take effect?
I believe Trump signed it.
Oh my
It's in
God!
effect. Yep. You're telling me.
Virtual playground for hackers now in the healthcare space.
Pretty much. You. That's exactly what it is.
I might need to shift focus from banking to healthcare. That's amazeballs.
So, Chris, that was the 21st Century Cures Act final rule. But the API part I was talking about came from 2015. We learned that when we did backgrounds because the AHA actually sent something to their friends in Washington over this. So we were part of that as well. And again, this is what we're actually seeing. So now we're putting all these rules around API security in our security requirements because we have to. So it's just, yeah, you've got yourself a focus. Like I said, it's the next 6 months of Hacker Talks.
Yeah.
And there's going to be quite a few more presentations at Black Hat and DEF CON on this one.
I think this is where I honestly think this is where a lot of the narrative is going, right? So I just got a message from Chris saying works in healthcare. It's a total mess. It's true. I mean, here's the thing. I think that as we move, let's all point the pink elephant out in the room here. Where the days of monolithic applications are gone, right? We've all moved to microservices. Everything is an API first economy now. You have that Jeff Bezos announcement to Amazon saying that if you develop anything, that doesn't support an API, you can look for a new job. I mean, I think we're in an API first world now, and the thing is that I think hackers understand that, and they're going to start shifting focus to hacking APIs. Not not all hackers understand how to hack APIs, but I think with the number of API breaches going up and continuing to rise, I think that's going to change. I think that's where the data is, right? The data is worth more than oil today. And the objective of the adversary is to be able to steal and monetize data, right? So where's the data? It's behind the APIs. So they're either going to jump on that API train or not, because everything is moving to APIs. And I think it's only going to get worse. That's my 2 cents.
I agree. I apologize. I just had two kids come into the room with iPad issues.
Oh, you're the CTO. You're the CTO for the family as well, huh?
Yes, I am, and so
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, Mitch. I had so much respect for you before. I have even more now. You're an Apple family. That's amazing. If you would have said Surface tablets, I don't know what I'd do.
well, let me put it to you this way: I still have Windows machines all over my house, but
Oh, you poor guy. I'm sorry.
well, I look at it this way: my wife's in school, so and everything runs on Windows in her school. She's got a Windows laptop. I've got pretty much, they look around this office to your Mac, Windows, and Linux, but all our phones are Apple phones because Apple does better security than the other vendors.
Yeah, I agree. Like Apple says, it just works. I don't remember the last time I had to reboot my iMac or my MacBook. Actually, just yesterday, I just ordered the new iPad Pros. I'm so excited about it. Should be here Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta tell me about that one. I have the 2018 iPad Pro. It's incredible. Steve, bring up your point here about connected medical devices, using and relying on APIs more frequently in the future. That's a lot of the focus with the IEEE and IEEE UL P 2933 we were working on, because we realize that that's going to happen. So Steve was talking about connected medical devices are likely going to use and rely on APIs more frequently.
Oh yeah.
The truth is that they are.
Oh yeah.
So, right, and to give a perfect example, anytime you go and get a CT scan or a PET scan or an MRI, that uses APIs via what's called DICOM to send and receive information from the PACS system that stores your radiology images.
Oh, wait, DICOM is the protocol?
Yep, DICOM's protocol.
Oh wow. I need to learn more about this.
Yeah, TCP port 104.
Oh, it's TCP.
Yeah, TCP 104. It's actually got an INA number for it too.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be ICMP or UDP. Sorry about that. I haven't had enough coffee yet. Like, Alissa, what's wrong with you?
At least Starbucks is open.
Yeah, exactly. I've got my Nespresso machine, so I'm good to go.
Awesome. But it's just so funny because DICOM has all that built in. So DICOM's actually has some pretty good security enhancements already. But Fire's nowhere near that, as well used as DICOM, but all these little medical devices out there that do radiology, you already have all these medical devices using DICOM to communicate.
Well,
yeah, you're right, Steve.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, a lot of people don't really realize how many devices actually communicate over APIs. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but your cars are connected. Anything made after 2001 is connected, and a lot of them communicate with API servers for OTA. So your cars are communicating with APIs, got medical connected medical devices, communicating over APIs. Smart parking lots. I just smart meters. They all communicate with APIs. I mean, they're not communicating with Apache Tomcats. It's like, I don't know. Anyway.
I think that's pretty funny. And yeah, with cars, I know up until at least the Teslas, everything used a CAN bus.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of cars are running Ethernet now. Like one of the projects I was working with over in when I lived in Stuttgart, Germany, with Porsche Engineering was, their conversion of their fleets over to Ethernet. I mean, a lot of cars are now moving to Ethernet and TCP/IP.
That does not surprise me, and that will lead to a lot more DEF CON presentations, as I put it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I think I need to start playing with some medical devices. That might be my next vulnerability, especially with this rule that you're talking about in the move to APIs.
Yeah, because the thing is, the medical devices are going to start having the APIs built in.
Right.
And what we're trying to address with 2933 is building a secure architecture around these standards so that, well, we can actually point to a reference standard and say, this is how you really need to do it.
Right.
As opposed to giving this alphabet soup of recommendations that the developers aren't going to listen to.
Yeah.
If I go to a C-level executive and tell them, here's a UL standard, they're going to want to go for a UL standard.
Yeah.
I've found that there's very few things that executives will get really scared of, and that is everyone. And I had this discussion with UL 3 weeks ago. Everything that plugs into an outlet used to have a UL sticker on it, and I think that it's right for the picking for us to be able to put something in place to say, hey, if you want that UL sticker for your medical device, here's what you need to do.
Hey, Mitch, has there been much vulnerability research into DICOM? Steve just posted that point that DICOM is very complex and ripe for the picking. I'm curious to see if any vulnerability research has actually been done into DICOM.
I've done some as well.
Oh, okay. Hey, and what do you? I mean, I'm assuming it's pretty basic stuff, right?
Pretty basic unencrypted TCP stream.
I was about to say, yeah, unencrypted protocol. Yeah.
And what I found was more important than that is that your average PAC system doesn't do integrity checking on the image as it goes in.
What do you mean? It's relying on like checksums with TCP or?
It pretty much relies on the network protocol itself. Maybe some basic checksumming of the image.
Mm-hmm.
No hashing, no encryption. I found in a lot of implementations.
Oh, so you could do a nice little man in the middle attack on it and modify the data and forward it on.
Yes. So there was some research a couple Israeli groups did on basically tricking AI into giving misdiagnoses using DICOM.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, I'm not kidding. And they did it. But what I found was even funnier is I talked to our chair of radiology about it, and he told me, why do you even bother having to do that? All I got to do is just do this in Photoshop. And he basically told me how to, bypass all the perturbation you have to do to screw up AI, and told me how to do it using Photoshop. And I'm going to believe him because he's a chair of radiology.
Wow, that's interesting that your chair of radiology would know something like that.
You'd be surprised what radiologists know about security.
I was like, what?
Yeah, we always took care of radiologists because they knew more about security than everyone else. And for example, I actually had a customer of mine a few years ago, one of the last places I worked, that they actually had the full GPU set up for doing complex image analysis. We were giving them crap because they had chose to use SUSE instead of our standard Red Hats because, well, let's put it to you this way. Ever since Attachmate bought that company, they haven't been as good with security as they once were. So it's like the rest of my organization is worried about getting Windows 7 running. These are the people who are talking about, okay, what Linux distribution is going to make my graphics drivers run faster so I can do more complex image analysis on all these images. And the other one was a doctor that told me, don't look in the ceilings here. I ran an Apple Talk cabling 30 years ago and it's probably still there. So they know their stuff.
Yeah.
DICOM actually had in a later revision encryption as a security standard, but the problem is it's in the standard. Most of your devices don't incorporate it. And most of the time, the recommendation is just put this all on your own little network, let it run, and it doesn't account for the fact that a lot of the helper devices that get the information from the actual radio device doing the imaging over to your central PAC system, they run ancient versions of Windows too. Like you're not like if you find an imaging machine running Windows 10, I'd like to see it because they probably don't exist. So there's a lot out there that we've figured out. I need to do a better job of writing CFP so I can present this at a conference and talk about all we found. But the other challenge we found also is the systems used to actually store all these images. They're just as vulnerable as the medical devices.
Yeah, I just did a little Google on DICOM. It looks like ExtraHop has a pretty good article on it that explains the radiology workflow from patient registration to image ordering and explains the DICOM protocol. I'm assuming it's because ExtraHop supports the DICOM protocol and is used in medical device environments.
Oh, yes. That's pretty much the gold standard.
Oh, yeah, they have a breakdown of the actual DICOM message. Yeah, you're right, there's no checksum. Oh my god.
Yep. No checksum. No hashing.
Yeah, no hash.
So it's basically it's a free for all.
How does it validate the authenticity of the? Oh wow. I'm assuming it was designed to be a lightweight protocol though, because these are machines, these are imaging machines, right? So they needed to make it a very lightweight protocol.
Yes. And again, these are thinking this is just, I mean, it doesn't validate, literally doesn't validate. So it's pretty much, like I said with HL7, shoot data at an endpoint, if it's well formed, it picks it up and encodes it.
Yeah.
So this is what we've been looking at as well. And yeah, DICOM, we haven't really gotten there that much yet, but we're going to. We've talked to a couple people about this already, but again, there needs to be something better to exchange data, especially radiology patients. Because here's the other deal. Most of the time when a patient goes to another hospital, they bury their images with them on flash drive or CD.
Yeah, did you see this article that came out in April? DICOM flaw enables malware to hide behind medical images.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Celera discovered a flaw in DICOM, a 30-year-old standard used to exchange and store medical images that would let a hacker insert malicious code into medical device image files. Holy shit.
Well, you can pack an executable, though, or at least have it jump out under 127 bytes, because I believe it was the first 127 bytes have to be already been checked. You can hide, and you can hide an executable in there.
Oh yeah, there's a 128 byte section header at the beginning of the file.
Yep.
Oh my god. Yeah, and an exploit was published on it. There's a published exploit for this.
Yes. And encrypting the transport doesn't help you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, we knew about that as well, and we talked about it.
Oh wow.
I've got to write better CFPs. That's all I got to say, but this is something else we talked about. There's so many different ways to
That's
go
unbelievable.
around this stuff. But again, we're trying to do what we can to start from a good foundation. And I'm not afraid to say that we know what's going on, and that we are working towards addressing it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So, like, again, I just look at it this way with the Cures Act, is that it actually, instead of helping improve, it actually built upon the lack of API security. I was gonna say, anyone else in the audience here have anything they want to add to that?
Are there any DICOM hackers in the audience? Am I the only hacker here today?
Well, I'm a hacker in training, but definitely something that I could learn.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I just got a new book contract with Wiley to write a book on hacking APIs, so that'll be my next book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It sounds like I'm going to need to have a chapter on DICOM.
Oh, yes.
Hey, Mitch, can you hook me up with some medical equipment?
Actually,
He's like, actually.
Hey, listen, I mean, I'll reach out to you offline, but I'm going back to grad school here, hopefully next semester, do a PhD on med device security. So,
Oh, that's amazing.
To talk to you about this stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
so I think that, well, I think between some of the stuff we're going to be doing, I mean, our contract language actually calls for test equipment. That's not going to be used in a production environment. So we're going to start getting test equipment in from some certain vendors.
Ooh.
And
I might need to come out and visit you, Mitch. Or you might need to give me a Kali jump box into your lab network. Just don't tell cybersecurity, but you're oh wait, you're the CISO. Never mind.
And I run the red team, so.
Oh, you work for Mitch?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, that's amazeballs. I didn't know you had some team members on here, Mitch.
yeah, yes.
You're a brave man.
Yeah, we can make it happen, and we actually have the contract language up on our website right now, asking for test equipment. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
What's even funnier is I know a couple of years ago, actually it was 4 years ago, Mayo Clinic hired IO Active to do some pen test work for them.
Oh, Jennifer Sunshine Steffens is my spirit animal. She's like a sister to me. She's amazing. The people over at IO Active are amazing people. There's some really smart cats over there.
Yes, there are, and I'm friends with Jennifer as well.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So I know I actually went to her party at DEF CON and got to meet a whole bunch of her team. So yeah, we knew about the Mayo project because I talked to Kevin McDonald when he was still there. So we had a good conversation about everything they did. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I have no problem doing the same thing, doing it on an ongoing basis.
Uh-oh, somebody needs to go on mute.
Somebody is going to be going on mute right now.
I just muted him. So it's interesting. I'm when you start getting some equipment in and you seriously have a playground for me, I'd be all over that. So definitely ping me.
No problem. We definitely will. So thank you so much for coming today. So Nick and I have to bounce and get on our next call, unfortunately.
All right. Well, it was nice being you, Nick. Everyone here, thanks for the time. For those of you on my live stream channels, thanks for joining us. And I will fix that left-right audio issue in the next episode. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.